Let us begin with a clarification, because confusion is convenient, and convenience has always served power well. What exists today is not a future scenario. It is a present arrangement. We already live in a society where a highly concentrated elite exercises disproportionate control over capital, narratives, and institutions. This elite extracts value from the majority, while tolerating that majority for a single reason: they are still useful. There is nothing speculative about this. It is simply how the system functions. Economic relevance today is conditional. This condition, however, is often misunderstood as moral. People speak of greed, ethics, responsibility, or a lack thereof. That is a comforting mistake. The difference between our current society and the one many fear is not moral. It is technical and structural. And that difference hinges on a single threshold. Many people say, AI replacing all jobs will be the first step. They are correct, but not for the reason they think. The step matters because it crosses a point of no return. To understand why, we must look carefully at the present regime, what we might call the pre-threshold system. At present, the elite still needs the population, not out of sympathy, out of necessity. They need people for labor, directly or indirectly. They need them as consumers. They need them to legitimize institutions. They need a tax base. They need soldiers, police, engineers, technicians. They need people to maintain infrastructure. They need future generations to reproduce the system itself. Even exploitation requires participation. This dependence imposes constraints. Because the elite needs people, it must concede certain things. Welfare, however limited, rights, however hollow, labor protections, however porous. Above all, the appearance of democracy. This is not benevolence, it is management. This arrangement can be described accurately as domination with dependence. Power exists, but it is tethered. Now consider what happens at the threshold. The threshold is reached when AI and robotics make it possible for wealth, order, and control to function without human labor, consumption, compliance, or legitimacy. At that moment, the relationship changes fundamentally. Not gradually, not rhetorically, structurally. The majority ceases to be an exploited participant and becomes a pure cost and risk. That is the difference. This is why the phrase AI replaces all jobs is misleading. The danger is not unemployment. Societies have survived unemployment. The danger is irrelevance. Income can be replaced. Leverage cannot. Importantly, nothing dramatic happens at first. There is no collapse, no uprising, no decisive announcement. The transition is, in fact, rather dull. Fewer jobs, more precarity, longer periods described as temporary, more surveillance, more automation introduced for efficiency, endless rhetoric about reskilling, which quietly fails. From the outside, it looks like stagnation. From the inside, something essential has changed. For the first time in history, power no longer depends on people. This has never been true before. Not under slavery, not under feudalism, not under industrial capitalism, not under empires. Every ruling class in history required large numbers of humans alive, productive, and sufficiently cooperative. AI breaks this historical invariant. This is why the situation is not simply more inequality. Inequality assumes continued inclusion. Exclusion assumes disposability. The fear surrounding AI is often misdirected toward falling wages or disappearing professions. These are secondary effects. The primary effect is the loss of leverage, and once leverage disappears, certain things follow with remarkable speed. Repression becomes cheaper, concessions become unnecessary. Violence becomes an option again, not a failure, but a tool. This is why the instinctive reaction is often, "This already happens, just without the means yet." That observation is correct. Elites have always tested how far exclusion can go without destabilizing their own position. Historically, they stop short because they must. Total exclusion destabilizes wealth. It invites revolt. It fragments power. It risks collapse. But these constraints are technical, not ethical. If technology removes those constraints, nothing structural prevents the next step. What remains are not moral breaks, but practical ones. Conflict within the elite itself, the risk of misalignment, the fear of losing control over the machines that guarantee dominance. Concern for humanity does not enter the calculation. So when steps 1 and 2 are collapsed, exploitation and elimination, it is not because intentions have changed. It is because feasibility has. AI does not alter desire. It alters possibility. What we are witnessing then is not AI replacing jobs. It is a slow experiment, an experiment to determine how little of the population can remain economically relevant without triggering instability. So far, the answer has been consistent: less and less. The true danger point is not when people become poor. It is when they are no longer needed at all. That is the moment when history ceases to be an economic discussion and becomes a question of who is allowed to exist. To describe this clearly is not alarmism. It is simply to follow the logic to its conclusion, a conclusion most discussions carefully avoid, because clarity in such matters is rarely convenient.